Yo, what up, party people? How we feeling? How's everyone's time at home right now? You guys doing okay? I'm just waiting for some more people to jump in before I kick this off. I'm going to be doing another podcast. I think I got a pretty cool one today. This will be the third one. If you guys are wondering why is Kellin wearing a suit jacket, the answer is I've been living like a slumlord for like the last 4 or 5 days. So today I decided that I would put a little effort into it while being in front of you guys and not lose complete sanity by putting on something somewhat nice. So, yeah, man, there's a lot of people in here already. Thank you guys so much. I know that it's crazy times at the moment, chilling at home. And I wanted to just give you 30 or 45 minutes of some entertainment and something that we could all kind of rally behind. So I'm going to kick record on my laptop and then we'll get started with this podcast. One sec. Yo, yo, yo. All right, I see that my voice is working on there, so let's go ahead and kick this off. Today's podcast episode, I wanted to talk about 5 songs that saved my life. I see a lot of people come out to our shows and tell us that our band has done something to save their life or a certain song has saved their life. So I wanted to express 5 songs or talk about 5 songs that have done the same for me. And this was awesome to kind of look back and think about a song that reminded me of a time in my life, you know, because I think that music has the ability to do that, to have an emotional attachment to your brain to where you might not even remember something that happened, but a song will come on and you'll be like, holy shit, do you remember when we were here and this happened? And it's crazy how music can do that. It's crazy how music can be there for us when we're feeling helpless and hopeless, and how it has an ability to be there for us when it seems like nothing or no one else can. It can bring us back to a moment in our life. And there are so many songs that immediately remind me of a happier time, a time of frustration or hopelessness, and a song that got me through that, even heartbreak or love, and songs that remind me of those times as well. So I wanted to talk about 5 songs in my life that were there for me when I needed them the most. So to kick it off, the first song and the first band on my list is The Used, Taste of Ink. So the lyrics that I wrote down here is it worth it? Can you even hear me? Standing with your spotlight on me, not enough to feed the hungry. I'm tired and I felt it for a while now. In this sea of lonely, the taste of ink is getting old. Dude, I gotta tell you guys, this album, this first Used album, I played until broke. I played until it was so scratched that I couldn't listen to any of the songs anymore. I don't remember an album other than this one that I listened to so much. And the reason I listened to this album so much was because I grew up in a small town called Medford, Oregon. And I lived with my dad, and I chose to move in with my mom, who lived in Michigan. I knew no one there, had no friends. I had no idea what I was getting into. And this album was shown to me by a friend of mine in Oregon before going to Michigan. And it was like the only thing I really had other than talking to myself and the wall, because it was the summer, so I didn't know anybody yet. Shout out to LaCroix. And so I remember seeing The Used on TRL, and I remember hearing this song, and this song is just, it ended up being an anthem for me and a lot of my friends who I ended up meeting that year. But I just got to say that this song was there for me when no one else could be, and I'm thankful for Taste of Ink by The Used. It's an amazing song. I've got a playlist set up in my bio section with these 5 songs, plus I think like 25 more songs that bring me back to certain times in my life that I made for you guys. So if you want to check that out, please do. Nice subtle plug on the LaCroix. I'm not sponsored by LaCroix, but I do drink them often. Probably more than normal water, which is probably not amazing since your body is made up mostly of water. I think my body is made up mostly of LaCroix. And key lime would be 100% my favorite flavor. If you haven't had it, give it a shot. It's great. Moving on, track 2, Linkin Park, Somewhere I Belong. This album was kind of around the same time for me. I think that first I'm going to say that Hybrid Theory definitely got me into Linkin Park. I remember specifically this kid that lived down the street when I lived in Oregon showing me Hybrid Theory, and my mind just being completely blown. I think the heaviest band I'd listened to at that point was POD because my youth pastor told me about it. So listening to Linkin Park and that record Hybrid Theory was major for me. But when I'm thinking about an album that impacted me the most, I'd say Meteora was that album because I was anticipating that album so much. I'd listened to Hybrid Theory so much and it didn't disappoint. I remember going to Hot Topic and buying the t-shirt right away. And this was a time when I was like getting through high school and I knew that I wanted to play music. I knew that it was something that I wanted to do with my life. But obviously, how do you make that a career? As a kid, I think that you just kind of go, well, I like to sing, but how do I make that my job or my life? And listening to Chester's lyrics and his vocals really inspired me because I felt like there was someone that I could relate to that wrote true and honest things from the heart. And I go back and I listen to Linkin Park now, and it's amazing to listen to it now that Chester's gone and just kind of hear what he was going through on an even deeper level, and the things that were coming out of him that maybe we overlooked or didn't really pay attention to. So that's my number 2. And also it was Chester's birthday, so happy birthday, Chester. The third thing that I wanted to put on the list song is Something Corporate, Woke Up in a Car. So Something Corporate was a drive-through band. I was a massive drive-through fan. I had all the drive-through DVDs, and I listened to bands like Starting Line and Finch. Something Corporate came later because I kind of assumed that they were more of a band for girls to listen to, and they weren't like heavy or punk enough for me, or pop punk, or whatever the vibe I was listening to. But I started listening to Something Corporate. I remember when I had to drive back from Michigan to Oregon, it was the longest drive, and I put on this album, and I just remember this song meant a lot to me. So the lyrics here are, I woke up in a car, I traced away the fog so I could see the Mississippi on her knees. I've never felt so lost, I've never felt so much at home. Please write my folks and throw away my keys. So this song to me reminds me of 2 things: touring the country, driving in my car, listening to the album all the way through, touring in our tour van because we would drive day and night and have nothing to listen to. So I probably listened to this album multiple times. It also reminds me of my wife and the time that we started dating, because both of these things happened around the same time. She and I started dating, and then I left for Florida to be a part of Sleeping with Sirens. And this album and this song specifically reminds me of her. So this whole album, Leaving Through the Window, is an album that if I played right now, I know that Caitlin would say, this album, this song reminds me of you, and it's the same for me. So I know that's cute, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Kellin, that's cute. But it's true. And I know that there's probably so many songs for you guys that will remind you of someone that you love or a relationship that you've been in. And this was that song for me. And also lots of memories being with my dudes in the van, seeing the countryside. Track 4 is kind of a weird one, but it's important to me. So it's Third Eye Blind, and the song is Narcolepsy. This is off the self-titled Third Eye Blind album. And this album to me, well, I'll read the lyrics first because I've been writing these lyrics down and I missed Linkin Park's, but I'll read this one here. It says, there's a bone in my hand that connects to a drink in a clouded room where the glasses clink, and I'll buy you a beer and we'll drink it deep because that keeps me from falling asleep. And I wrote, Stephen Jenkins, is a masterful songwriter, and this self-titled album is one I've always aimed to mimic. Okay, yes, this is a note that I wrote down so I could remember this. So I think as an artist in a band, there's a few albums that you aim to to emulate, not necessarily sonically like what it sounds like, but just the fact that I feel like this album from start to finish is perfect. Every song flows so well into the next one that you can listen to it from track one all the way through the end, and it tells a story and it makes you feel a certain way. And that's something that I've always aspired to do with Sleeping with Sirens. I feel like it's something that we probably have in our heads more so than other people would say. But I was just talking about this with All Press today because if you didn't know, on Monday, With Ears to See and Eyes to Hear turns 10, which is a big deal. And we were talking about if there's one thing that you could change about that album, what would it be? And my response was, I guess the only thing that I would change is that with that album, we had to come up with 9 or 10 songs in a short period of time. And it was just basically like, okay, do we have enough songs yet? And for me, it's always been important that our band has the time to make an album that consistently flows from track one all the way through to the end and tells a story and has a fitting vibe. So this album is that for me. It's also an album that reminds me of my mom. My mom moved away when I was young, and she would come to visit from California, and she lived in Sacramento at the time, and we lived in Medford, Oregon, a small town. So she would come back with this music that I wouldn't get in Medford, and the only way that I could listen to it is in her old red Jeep that she used to pick me up in. And so we share that together. We share the fact that, I'll put a song on and she'll be like, how do you remember this song? I'll be like, this song reminds me of you. And she would pick me up at my dad's, and we'd have to drive 20 minutes to stay at my grandma's, and she'd play this new music. And one time it was this album. I remember it being dark or nighttime, and sitting in the back seat, looking out the moonroof and just listening to the words and the music and the rhythm and just wanting to be in a band someday. I remember it reminded me of wanting to be in a band. And she might not even know this story, but this song reminds me of her. And I love this band and that song, and it's on my playlist for you guys to listen to at the end. Pause for LaCroix. LaCroix is so good. It tastes so amazing. There's something about a nice lemon LaCroix that's just refreshing and makes you feel warm and fizzy inside. Thank you. My last track that I wanted to talk about is my all-time favorite song. It's Fleetwood Mac, and the song is Landslide. I'm sure a lot of you know this, but the lyrics that I wrote down are, I took my love, I took it down, climbed a mountain, and I turned around. I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. I wrote, this, in my opinion, is one of the best songs ever written. To me, it is the best song ever written, and if I lived on a desert island and I couldn't listen to anything else ever again, this would be the song that I would take with me. I love Stevie Nicks. I think she's brilliant. And this song specifically, the vulnerability of the writing, and the way that she approaches writing this breakup that she's going through. I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's a history about the album that came after this one, rumors where the members of the band were dating or married to each other, and they had broken up at this point, and they had to continue making an album and coexist. So they're writing these songs about each other, and the first time they hear them is when it's getting mixed down or when they have to add guitar. So I couldn't imagine being with Stevie Nicks at the time and hearing this song about love and loss and the bravery that it took to write that song in the midst of it all. And I wrote that this song is something that I always aspire to be like. When I write songs, I try to be as honest as I can, and I've done it with my parents before, where I've written a song like Free Now and have to explain to my parents that, yes, this song is about you and it's about mom and it's about my experience, but if I'm not honest about it, then what is it? What are people going to get out of the music? What are they going to learn from, or what are they going to be able to hold dear? All the bands and artists that I love the most are the ones that are completely honest, and I know that sometimes my family or my friends or even my wife have to deal with that. And I'm thankful that they allow me to be who I am. But I think that it's important to be honest. And this song is the epitome of that. I wrote, whenever I feel guilty, I can always reference this song and the bravery that it took to write it. So those are my 5 songs, guys, that saved my life. And I wrote down here to talk about this last because I think it's important to bring it home with what's going on in our lives right now. I wrote, we have a tendency to move through life really quickly, especially over the last few years, rarely stopping to reflect, only when we're forced to slow down, meaning the quarantine that we're a part of right now or the lockdown that we're a part of right now everywhere in the world is the only time in history that I found talking to relatives and friends that everything has been completely stopped. Businesses, airports, different systems of transportation, malls, concerts, churches even, and we're forced to live life at a slower pace. We're uncertain about what's going to happen, but we're being forced to live in a slower pace. So I wrote that it's important for us to remember to take time, even though we're being forced to take the time right now, to use it to reflect. And, I put these 5 songs down so maybe you guys can make a list of your 5 songs that have saved your life or gotten you through moments where you've needed it the most. And you can share that with me either on Instagram or on Twitter with a reply. But I challenge you to listen to an album all the way through. Maybe if you've only listened to one song, to maybe pick up a whole album and start from track 1 and just put your headphones on and listen to it. You don't have anything else to do right now, so you might as well. I noticed that my kids, with the stuff they listen to, when I let them control the radio and stuff in the car, they'll not even be able to get through one song before skipping to the next. And I'm just fuck, man, I miss having an old CD player and not being able to really have a choice but to listen to an album and either deciding if I like that whole record or if I only like a couple songs, rather than be giving the choice with the star on iTunes or listening to a song based on how many plays it has. I got to decide for myself, and I think that's really important right now in this time that we're living in, that we take up this moment to really read things and to listen to music all the way through, and to let artists know and let people know in your life that you appreciate them and thank them for the times. And I rarely do that with music, but I'm doing that right now. I'm thanking all these artists that are a part of this list for being there for me when people couldn't, or for being there for me with my friends and family and bringing us closer together. It's something that's super important, and that is my podcast for today. So what do you guys got? I'm going to answer some questions before I jump off here, but thank you for listening and watching this. So go ahead and throw me some questions, and I will do my best to answer. How's my isolation going? My isolation is going pretty well. I'm trying to set up a routine. Benji Madden told me that it's important to have a routine right now, which is something I agree with. So I'm trying to wake up around 8. I'm trying to exercise in the morning and eat healthy. And then I'm trying to spend some time with family in the morning with my kiddo, either playing, she's been playing Animal Jam lately. So that's been kind of what I've been focused on, kind of watching her do. We'll talk about it, or we'll watch YouTube videos. And then spending an hour or 2 in my office area creating, whether it's writing stuff for these podcasts, which are going to come out soon, or creating lyrics and music for things that are going to come at a later date. So having a routine, and then after, working, just having dinner, and then spending more time with family before going to bed, and just kind of living life as if this is the normal thing right now, and trying not to be on the news and be in the negative stuff, because I realized that there's nothing we can do to change anything that's going on. We have to just accept it, and we have to do our part. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to abide by the laws that are out and be healthy and safe for everyone. Can you sing one of your songs for us? Sure. They say love is forever, your forever is all that I need. That's all I got so far. And forever is a little flat, so I apologize for that. Let's see. So yeah, this is a great question. How's quarantine affected how you write a song if you're being quarantined? So we can trade songs back and forth. That's the beauty of the internet right now, is that we can send songs back and forth to each other. But also I've just been trying to write down my thoughts in a journal and not necessarily be focused on the specific moment, because I know that it's going to pass and there's going to be other things I'm going to want to write about. So trying to expand my brain to other things to write about other than what's currently going on. Great question. Do a coronavirus song. Not yet. I feel like it's still kind of like too soon for that, so I'm going to stay away. Any news on the tour? Look, guys, everything has been shut down. So as far as canceling the tour, we haven't canceled it yet, just because who knows what's going to happen in a week. But as things have been moving and progressing, it's seeming more so that it's probably not going to happen, but it will be rescheduled. So that's the news on the tour. I mean, my kids' schools have been pushed back more and more and more, so I don't see why kids wouldn't be able to go to school, but we'd be able to gather and do a concert. So whenever they say it's good to go, then we'll come back. Let's see. Somebody asked me, which is an interesting question, and I almost thought twice about answering it because it was just kind of weird, but I guess it doesn't have to be weird. Anyways, someone asked, what is your favorite band with black band members? And one of my favorite singers of all time is the singer of Seven Dust, and I love his voice so, so much. I've been a massive fan of Lenny Kravitz since I was a little kid. Are You Gonna Go My Way is like one of my favorite songs. I've been a fan of like R&B music since I was like a little kid, because that's what my dad listened to. So Boyz II Men, Bobby Brown and stuff like that. And I know that that's not like rock music or a band, but it is a musical group. So it's always been an influence to me, and it doesn't matter what color your skin is at all. I think the music definitely transcends those boundaries, and it doesn't matter who's singing it, whether it's a boy or a girl, or where you're coming from, or where you're at in your headspace. The most important thing is the music and the lyrics and what it's saying, and I can get behind any music in that way. So let's see. Strengths and weaknesses in my craft. That's a good question. My strengths and weaknesses. Man, weaknesses first, I guess I'm just in my head a lot. So if I write something down, I'm very worried about whether it's going to be impactful or good. And I think that a lot of artists will deal with that. But I guess my strength, on the other hand, is that when I know that I have something completed, I'm brave enough to put it out there for people to listen to and to judge and to live with. That's something that's always been there for me. I'm always very excited to hear people's reaction to what I'm doing, even if it's a negative way, but I like to show people. So I guess not being in my head and being so critical is my weakness, and my strength is that I'm brave enough to put music out into the world for people to listen to. What else do we got? Any advice for singing? I've been using my throat 90% of the time, which is a bad thing. I don't know that that's a bad thing. When you're talking about specifically like how to sing, I think that there's a lot of videos out there. You can watch the Zen of Screaming is one that has been very helpful for me on just proper technique. But my advice on singing is I grew up listening to bands, like some of the ones that I mentioned here, and emulating them until I found my own voice. And so that's my best piece of advice for you, is to just listen to other artists and see what they do, and emulate them until you find your own voice, and it will come. But it's all just kind of bits and pieces from things that you learn. So let's see, what else do we got? I'm gonna answer like 3 more and then I'm gonna jump off. Sunrise or sunset? I'm definitely like a sunset guy. I don't like waking up when the sun is coming up. I like to wake up when it's kind of already out. If I'm up and the sun is still not out, but I get to watch it come up, it's usually in a zombified state. So definitely sunsets. And Michigan on the Lake has got the best sunset in my opinion. What are 3 items you always take on tour? Great question. 3 items I always take on tour. Definitely a toothbrush. That's important. I always take good smelling, like body wash that reminds me of home, or I always bring little things that remind me of being home. And that's usually like the most important thing for me, because when you're on tour and you've got to use like the venue soap or body wash or something, it's nice to be able to have something that you can only get where you're from. So that's important. And the third thing is a charger, and I usually forget that, so I have to always go buy another one. All right, I'm going to answer 2 more. The first one I'm going to answer is any advice on anxiety. They put down suicide or depressive thoughts. I think that's a good thing to answer right now, just because it's something that I think is going to be heightened during this time. The most important thing is to not be in your head, because your head will take you to crazy places and define things. You know, like I mentioned earlier, having a routine is something that's really helpful for me, or been helpful for me. If I have something that I'm doing and I keep myself busy, it gives me less time to kind of sit and ponder and think about depressing things. And then another thing I like to do is to just fill myself with as much positive stuff as I can. I have little daily like thoughts books that I read that have nice quotes in there. I listen to uplifting podcasts. I watch movies that are usually comedies, and just kind of keep everything positive right now specifically. So hopefully that helps you. But yeah, and also having a good support system of friends and people that will lift you up, and not being afraid to tell them that you're feeling sad or in a dark place, and having someone that'll listen to you. All right, guys, I'm going to answer 1 question left, and then I'm going to jump off. I'm trying to find like the perfect one to finish with. Sorry guys, I'm just waiting for like a great question. I've answered a lot of these ones before, so I'm just kind of like letting those pass. But I just again want to just say thank you guys so much. I want to give a shout out to all of the people in the health system doing their part to keep people as safe as humanly possible. I think that it's really important that we follow the guidelines and stay in our houses and do the social distancing, because that seems to be the only thing that's kind of working right now until we find another solution. And I know it sucks to put your life on hold. I know it sucks for a lot of people financially right now, and it's scary, but we can support each other. And I know that this world can become either very helpful or very dark, and it kind of depends on us how we're going to handle all this. But I do think it's important to not make this a time of rebelling against what's being told to us, because I want people to be healthy, and I don't want to lose people that I love, and I know you don't want to either. I just wanted to plug that in real quick too. And then also, I tweeted about this yesterday, but be nice to people that are at grocery stores providing food and necessity things for us to live, because they have to be around, and they're around people breathing the entire time, and a lot of them don't have proper face masks, and I worry about them. And I know it's a lot of young people that are trying to just make a living right now. So please be kind to them, be nice, tell them that you appreciate them and you're thankful for them. Don't be mean when they don't have what you've got or what you're needing. I know it's scary, but be nice. Try really, really hard to keep in mind that we're all human and we're trying to coexist together right now. Please and thank you. Just wanted to plug that real quick. And then I'm going to answer one last question. Give me something good. is a great question. Thank you. All right, I'll end it on this. There has been some announcements of artists doing online performances. Yes, we are planning on doing something like that. I know that Nick and I are going to try to do something. Seeing as that we can't get together physically, I think we're going to script out, and it's going to be pretty funny and also cool. He's going to script out 5 or 6 songs that we can play, and then we're going to have a dialogue, and I'm going to have like a TV in my son's room that's on wheels, and I thought it would be funny to wheel him out on the TV and to hit spacebar on my laptop and put it through HDMI on the TV and perform a concert as if he were here. I think it could be really, really cool, and it's definitely something that I want to do. We're in the works of figuring out the songs that we want to play, and if you guys want to suggest some, please throw them out on Twitter, and we will definitely do our best to put as many in there as possible. And I'm going to continue doing things like this to just kind of keep entertaining people and giving you guys something to watch, even if it's just for a time. So thank you for tuning in. I love all of you so much. I'm going to leave this on my story, so if you know someone that's missed it, they can check it out. Y'all are amazing. Love you. We'll see you very, very soon. Take care of each other. Be safe. Love you. Peace.